Today I'm doing my measure up and health check before we go into the winter. It's the middle of October. I normally do this twice a year in April and October, but because of my circumstances this year I didn't do one in April. I managed to get a chance to do this one today though, so I'm going to take that opportunity. We'll get the fish out, we'll have a look at each one in turn. I'm going to keep it very brief. As I alluded there, my circumstances this year have changed a lot. Just about 12 months ago to the date they changed. As such, I've not been able to get the access to the pond that I would have normally had, so there's not been a feeder on there, for example. So they won't have grown as much this year as I would normally expect them to grow, but there'll be some growth, I'm sure, but not what there could have been. But we'll get them out, we'll have a look. One thing I do want to do is talk body shape. So I've got two Chagoi in here at the moment. Right on cue, there's the bigger one of the two. And I've got pictures and videos of them from when they were small to where they are today. And there's the other one. They're really good examples of body shape. So Chag, because they don't have patterns, it's not as easy to judge a good Chag from a bad Chag. Predominantly the big driving factor is body shape. There's the smaller one. And I always struggled with body shape to see the difference between two koi, but these two Chag really do demonstrate quite well the difference between good body shape and average body shape. So I'll use those to kind of make that point, and we can see the shape of them when they were younger, and then you can see now how that shape has kind of manifested itself and how they've developed differently based on the body shape that was evident when they were smaller. One was a 25-pound fish, the other was I can't remember what I told my wife, probably a 200-pound fish maybe, I don't know. And it's not easy to see always where the difference in that value is, but I think these will demonstrate that well. So I've waffled on long enough and it's not very warm sitting on these flags, so I'm going to crack on and get the first one out. I'll keep the Chag till the end and we'll do those last, but I'll do the other fish first. So we'll start with this little Ginrin Kohaku. This is the smallest fish we've got now. It's always been on the small side, this fish, so no surprises that it's not grown an awful lot. October last year, so just about 12 months ago, she was 31 centimetres. Let's just have a look if we can have a quick measure up. We're now 37 centimetres, so she's grown 6 centimetres, 60 millimetres over the year. As I say, fed wheat germ all year. They don't have any growth food or anything else, just hickory wheat germ all year round, unheated. And as I say, I've not been able to put the feeder on this year, so they've been fed a lot less than they normally would. Yeah, I really like this fish, to be honest. I just wish it would grow, but everything's holding up. The Ginrin is really very good. The skin could be a little whiter, could be a little better, but hopefully as the koi ages and thickens up, the white will get more white. But the Benny is holding up well. The pattern, yeah, nice all round, a nice little fish. Pretty confident it's female. No problems. Just wish I could fast forward a few years and it was to see what she looks like at a decent size. So yeah, Ginrin Kohaku, all good. Next up we've got the Yamabuki ogon. This koi was again quite small really, certainly for an ogon. This time last year she was 35 centimetres, and if I remember rightly, the body shape on this was quite poor, kind of in danger of turning into a bit of a rugby ball. And to be honest, it's not got any worse, but certainly not improved any. I don't expect it to, but you never know. Quite a pale colour, which I quite like. Decent enough sheen. just poor growth, and the body shape sort of has always hinted that the growth wouldn't be the best, and that's proved to be the case. Nice enough pond filler, a bit of colour, but yeah, never going to set the world alight. I'll give her a quick measure up. 41, just about 41 centimetres. So 6 centimetres growth, 60 millimetres. It's surprising, to be honest. I didn't think it had grown that much, but yeah. We can get it back in. So this Kohaku was 38 centimetres this time last year. Not great body shape, although it does grow better than the ogon, certainly. Not the best fish. We've got a little shimmy there. No, doesn't worry me. Lots of secondary benny as well down the side on this koi, so no great quality, but a nice fish in the pond, and interesting to see how it grows. The skin is quite decent, the white ground. It grows well enough, I guess. Let's see if I can give her a quick measure up. It's 45 centimetres today. So not earth shattering, but 7 centimetres, 70 mil growth over the period. Probably about average for a fish of this quality and a fish of this age. And as I say, I only feed wheat germ, and it's not the biggest pond, so that's perfectly good enough for me. I've never tried to push them. It's not something that interests me, because it just means I need to move them on sooner. I'm more than happy to let them develop at their own pace. But yeah, she's hopefully over the winter months now, eating less, colder temperatures, she'll recover some of the depth of the benny that's missing at the moment. The sort of intensity of the benny should come back by spring, and hopefully lose a bit of that weight she's carrying as well. Ready to go again next year. We'll get her back in. So on to the goshki. This was 37 centimetres this time last year. Again, not huge growth. Not a massive change, to be honest, from last year, I don't think. Although it'll be interesting to put the videos side by side so I can see. I don't believe it's changed too much. Maybe a little lighter. I'll just give him a quick measure while he's next to there. Very calm. 43. So again, 60 millimetres, 6 centimetres. Not earth shattering, but perfectly happy with that. I think maybe from memory, a little lighter maybe. The sort of scalation is a little bit more defined, a bit less black than this time last year, but I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. Perfectly good health, no issues at all. Happy days. So this is the Showa. This has always been the better quality of the fish that I have. This one's, what was it, 36 centimetres back in October last year. I'd say it's stalled a little bit, this one. Got a bit of red, whether it's just a little bit stressed. The skin is just a little bit less white than it normally is, which normally I would think, well, maybe it's just with netting her up and getting her in a bowl, but it has been like this for a couple of months now, I would suggest. Not really seen that before. As I've said before, the skin on the head, etc., will be very thin with a younger fish, and as the fish age, the skin thickens, so that will become whiter. Or just, it seems strange to me with it being white at a very young age and then getting less white. Seems odd. I've never seen that before. Hopefully just a blip. Obviously lots of underlying sumi on this fish and still reluctant to come up. Still not all the sumi that's up properly up is on the red ground, so it's got that undercoat, so yet to see really the sumi quality, which you can only really properly judge when it comes up on the white. But yeah, no rush for that. That's more than happy for it. Take her time, and that'll be for years to come down the line. Not a huge growth this year, as similar to the others, I would guess. But I'll give her a measure up. She was 36 centimetres this time last year. And at the moment, as of right now, she is 43. So again, 6 centimetres is pretty consistent with the 6 centimetre growth. That's more than fine. So yeah, I got one interesting looks less white than in the past. Need to keep an eye on that. Have a watch that, how that develops. There's a little bit of sumi coming through there on the white ground, but other than that, the stuff on the white is all underlying. I mean, the stuff that's up on the red undercoat is really looks good, but as I say, you can't really tell for sure till you see it on the white. But yeah, more than happy. Continues to develop. Interesting to see it. Okay, and as promised, onto the chags. So this is the small chag, or the smaller of the two. This was the 25-pound fish. It was a bit of a stopgap really until Tim could get me a better quality chag. So never any big expectations for this. I did tell someone they could have it, and we just never got round to moving her on, so she's still here. But yeah, a good example of what I was talking about with body shape. This is what I would call a typical body shape, in that probably 90% of koi that you purchase from dealers will have this kind of body shape. Then you've got 5% that have the poor body shapes, and then probably 5% with good body shapes. So this is what I would call typical. So quite a pointy nose, quite a narrow head, and tail, the tail tube, very narrow, sort of the fish narrows in down to the tail tube, and this part here, the peduncle, very slim. Yeah, just a kind of a typical body shape, I would suggest. One that you see more than any other. Not a bad shape per se, but not anything spectacular either, hence why this fish was £25. Size wise, this was 30 centimetres this time last October, and if you've watched the other videos you'll know it was painfully slow to get to 30 centimetres. It's not shown any kind of real good growth at all, and hence why it was going to be moved on. This year now it's 41, so it has grown 11 centimetres, 110 millimetres, so it has continued to grow. But I'll put the age that this fish is at now. I'll try and put some pictures up at the fish and sizes of this fish at different ages, so you can see how it's grown, and then we can compare them to the next chag that I'll bring out now, so you can see the difference in the body shape and also how that's transpired, how that's translated into growth and development. So we'll get this one back, we'll get the other one out. Okay, so I just had to put some more water in, but this is the bigger of the two chag. This was 42 centimetres this time last year, and yeah, it's chalk and cheese really. If you look at the head, you know, very wide head, eyes set very far apart, quite a short nose rather than a long pointed nose, really wide head. But the tail tube, this is the number one seller for me. Just if you can see, this fish doesn't come along and narrow in, it kind of gradually comes in, but the tail tube here is so thick. The body is just built to carry volume and to get big. It really is chalk and cheese in terms of body shape to the previous koi. Hopefully we've seen the two back to back, that's kind of coming across. But this is essentially when these fish were small. To the untrained eye, they look exactly the same. This one was, I said, this was £200. That's cheap. Tim did me a good deal. It's worth more. And the other one was £25. That's the difference. Is those subtle things that suggest, hint to the kind of future of the fish. Yeah, this fish eats everything constantly, and as you can see, it's still perfect shape. It's not carrying any weight at all, even at this time of year when it's been sort of bulking up, if you like, in terms ready to go into the winter. This point in time is the heaviest they'll be for that reason, and this fish is still perfect, still no excess weight on it at all. Yeah, so unfortunately it's going to very quickly outgrow my pond, as I've said in the past. But yeah, 42 centimetres this time last year, and as of right now she is 50 centimetres. So it's grown 8 centimetres over the year, which, I mean, again, it's not earth shattering, but in a small pond, unheated on Hikari wheat germ, and for a fish of this age as well, growth obviously does slow down as they age. It's still indicative of the fact that this fish will just continue to get bigger and better. So hopefully that's been useful in terms of seeing the two sort of body shapes. I wouldn't say the two extremes, but certainly a good body shape and a normal body shape back to back. And as I say, I'll try and put up something that shows the ages and the sizes of these koi, you know, comparable. So when this was a year old against when the other was a year old, etc. And we can see from memory, I can't remember, I'll put it up, but I think they're very similar age. But I will have to check that. Yeah, it's a cracker, this one. I really do like this. Let's say the only sad thing about it is it's going to outgrow my pond soon. Okay, so I've dug out a couple of pictures of the fish. They're not brilliant, I must admit. The one on the left is the cheaper £25 fish. The one on the right is the more expensive, better quality fish. Unfortunately, the one on the right, the picture on the right, the fish has got its mouth open, so it's not obvious the sort of shape of its head. But big thing, the kind of the widest point of the fish, which if you see on the fish on the right, it's much further back. It's a long head but a short square nose, a very thick tail tube, much thicker, and you get the kind of gradual sort of torpedo shape tapering in rather than the sort of stepped tapering in before the tail starts. You can see I've put the sizes on there. So 1 year old, 14 centimetres, the fish on the left. 2 years old, it was 30 centimetres. 3 years old, and then 3.5, and then on the right, if you compare, you know, it's a massive difference. I've not got exactly the same, but you can see already more than double at a year old. 2.5 years old, the better quality fish is 50 centimetres, where the cheaper fish was probably about 32, something like that. as opposed to 50, so massive difference in the growth. And I'm pretty sure that the kind of gap between them will continue to get bigger. But yeah, interesting to follow them over the years and see. I'm going to keep hold of the smaller one now, and just so I can see them grow really and keep comparing and hopefully learn something from them.